Hello everyone and welcome to the channel Chess Quest 777. Today I will present to your attention the game Bogoljubov Botvinnik, played in 1936 in Nottingham. White starts the game with d4 and black chooses the most elastic knight f6. With knight f6 the possibility of choosing various constructions in the future remains. White continues knight f3 and takes control under the e5 square, thereby avoiding various gambit constructions like Budapest gambit. But such caution has a downside. The fact is that by not capturing the center with pawns immediately, like in the case of c4, white thereby gives black the opportunity to choose various constructions. Black takes advantage of this opportunity playing b6, and white simply continues development, not wanting to enter into direct clash already in the opening. But seeing such a manifestation of external peacefulness, black decides to immediately create tension in the center with the move c5. The move c5 has a dark side. The thing is that if white has played d5 here, the result would have been a Benoni formation, with the only difference that black made a move b6 in this formation that wasn't entirely necessary and useful, but it did not happen. c4 was played, black played bishop b7, and now it was possible to play d5, but white continues his line of getting involved in any opening battles. C takes d4 follows, thereby determining the pawn position in the center, e takes d4, and e6. Here black prevented the move d5, since on d5, here e takes d5, c takes d5 would follow, and the bishop b4, and the pawn d5 will not last long. But it did not happen in the game. The game continues with bishop d3, white continues his line, refraining from d5, the bishop d3 follows, and black also develops his bishop to e7, then castlings, and b3. It would seem that the move is connected with the fianchettoing the dark squared bishop. Black continues to capture squares in the center, but in fact the idea of white was to put the bishop on e3, which in principle looks rather strange. Well, and then knight e4. Black immediately takes advantage of the opportunity to put the knight in the center, and the thing is that this knight can be easily driven away from there, can be exchanged. Let's say if white will take on e4 with knight, there is a fork and one of the pieces dies, and if you take with the bishop, then d takes e4, then let's say knight e1, and after f5 such a pawn phalanx conceals serious potential dangers for white. Also knight from e4 attacks knight on c3, and white simply protects this knight with rook c1. Black develops the knight on d7, and white continues queen e2, thereby connecting the rooks and yielding the pass to d1. Then comes rook c8. Thus black continues to develop their pieces. The rook d1 follows, but here white has the opportunity to play knight b5, and if a6, then after c takes d5, such an intermezzo attacking the knight, and if black plays e takes d5, then it was possible to play knight a7, and after exchanging the rooks, queen a8. And white has another intermezzo move, rook c7, attacking all the pieces on the 7th rank. And then, let's say, if knight would leave, then rook takes e7, and if rook to d8, then white would have an opportunity to play bishop a6, and black has no time to take this knight, because bishop on b7 is hanging. An abstract rook d1 was played. Next comes f5, black strengthens the knight, and at the same time reminds white that the bishop on e3 is not quite strong. Next comes bishop f4. It will seem that the move directly reacts to black's actions, but black continues in an aggressive style, playing g5, openly attacking the bishop, and in the game was played bishop e5, which was a decisive mistake. But if white had played bishop to d2, then after g4 there is nothing terrible for white. The thing is that after knight e5, if black will take on e5, then intermezzo bishop takes e4, d takes e4, and after d takes e5, it looks like e5 pawn is weakened, and if queen c7, white will have here bishop f4, protecting e5 pawn, and it's okay position for white. So, but in the game was played bishop e5, and it could be considered as a decisive mistake. Also in these lines, after knight e5, the question is why it's necessary to take intermezzo bishop takes e4. And let's say white will tolerate this knight on e4, and after d takes e5, knight takes d2, and whether queen d2 or rook d2, something on this diagonal will be lost for white after bishop g5. But in the game was played bishop e5, and then g4, knight e1, and now knight e5. Again, in between, white took on e4, and after d takes e5, like was in the game, queen c7, pawn on e5 will not last long. But before going there, there is another question. Why will white take on e4 intermezzo in this line? Let's say instead of knight e4, white will take d takes e5, and now black has a fantastic combination. Here you can pause and try to find this combination. A fantastic combination is found with knight f2. Black sacrifices this knight, and if queen f2, then the spin, and black is winning. And if king f2, then again bishop c5 check, and white has here two options, to retreat on f1 or to g3. In both cases, the queen g5 follows with a threat queen f4, but if white prevents this move with natural g3, then f4 will follow, and further opening of the file is inevitable. Let's say g takes f4, and after rook takes f4, the rest does not require comments. And if, let's say, after f4 king will try to escape, king g2, then f3 fork, and black is simply winning here. But in the game was played intermezzo, bishop takes e4, and after d takes e4, as already was mentioned, queen c7 and pawn on e5 is unprotectable. After knight b5, queen takes e5, rook d7. It could seem that after rook d7, white has some counter chances because of this double attack, but actually after bishop g5, white has no time to take this bishop, and after rook d1, bishop c6 and rook a7 follows, black occupies the only open file. And it could seem that there is nothing bad for white, but actually white's position is close to hopeless, since two bishops, black's pieces are active, and large amount of space is captured. After a4, rook d1, queen d1, rook d8, white plays queen c2. After queen c2, it's again suggested to pause and find decisive move in this position. The final blow is bishop d2, and the game is over. White admits defeat at this point. The thing is that the knight has no squares, and if, let's say, queen d1, then e3, and if queen e2, then it's possible to play queen a1 and win on this pin. But if, let's say, f takes e3, then bishop e3, and this discovery check would win the queen, and the game will be over. This is a game I wanted to show you today. If you like the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want to improve your game, sign up for training using the link in description. Write your thoughts about the game in the comment, and see you in the next video.